Hare Krishna, dragi bhakte, evo, I was requested to speak in English, znači rekli su mi da pričam na engleskom i pričat ću na engleskom. Nadam se da ćete imati prevod, verujem da ćete imati prevod. So I was requested to speak in English and I believe that you will have a translation, simultaneous translation. So today's topic, maybe you have seen the title, is about King Chitraketu. And there is these 4 amazing chapters. I'm going to look a little bit in my tablet because there is Bhagavatam there and there is chapter summaries. So we are going to look at chapter summaries of the story of King Chitraketu. It's a very instructive story and I think it's relevant to many of us, what we will be looking into, what we will be speaking about, what we will be reading from the Bhagavatam. So this is Canto 6, chapters 14, 15, 16 and 17. So before reciting the Bhagavatam, we always chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So 3 times, and if you like, you can repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I didn't mean repeat, but chant along with me. So the chapter 14 is called King Chitraketu's Lamentation. So King Chitraketu was a king in the past, many years ago, actually a few centuries ago. And as every king wants to have an inheritor, King Chitraketu wanted to have a son. But in the past, kings, they had more than one wife. They have more wives. But he wanted to beget a son, and he wasn't able. Somehow he wasn't able to beget son in any of his wives. So therefore he asked for help of Narada Muni and Angita Muni, the sages who have mystic powers and they can give blessings even for such a thing as getting a son. So we know that spiritually advanced people have powers and they can give blessings, but usually we don't ask spiritually advanced people for material blessings. We ask them for spiritual blessings. So he wanted to get a son so that the son can become a prince and so that he can become the next king. He was king was lamenting a lot because he had everything, but he just didn't have a son, didn't have an inheritor, didn't have a future king. So every king wants to leave his son as the next king, as inheritor, so that he can run the kingdom nicely. So he was lamenting, he was complaining to the sages, and he was asking them for blessings, for benediction, and by their mystic powers, by their yagyas, they were able to bless him, and he got a son. And they gave a name to the son, Harsha Shoka. So if we translate into English, we can say his name is Happy Sad, or in a Croatian or Serbian language, Srećko Tugović. So it means that this boy would bring happiness to his father, but also a great pain and a great sadness. So the boy was born, and the king was extremely happy, And his wife Kritadyuti, who gave birth to that boy, she was also extremely happy. But unfortunately, the other wives of the king, they were envious. Why she got the child and they couldn't beget. King couldn't beget the child in their womb. So sages give him a blessing to get one son. That means this son will be born from one wife. So somehow, by the will of the Lord, Kritadyuti was chosen to be the wife to give a birth to king's son. And if you want one son, then it's not possible that every wife get a child. So it's it's obvious, it's logical that it had to happen like this. But unfortunately, they were not happy for this, because they wanted to have, each one of them wanted to for a king to beget a child in their womb, and this was not possible. So what they did, as we hear from this story, they poisoned the boy and they killed the boy. So let us look a little bit in the description. We have very nice descriptions at the beginning of every chapter of the Bhagavatam. We have not all the Bhagavatams, but I think maybe from the fourth canto, yes, or maybe from the third canto, before every chapter in the Bhagavatam, you have a description of the chapter, like a summary of the chapter. So this itself is like a story that you can read, and you can get the idea what is going on in that chapter and what you can learn from that chapter. Chitraketu, who had no sons, got an opportunity to meet the great sage Angira. When Angira inquired from the king about his welfare, the king expressed his moroseness, and therefore, by the grace of the great sage, the king's first wife, Kritadyuti, gave birth to a son. So this I have already described. Actually, we can move to the next chapter. So the king was shocked with the death of his son. He just became so happy and get the hope that he will have an inheritor. And then this very unfortunate incident happened, that the other wives, they killed the boy. So the next chapter is called "The Saints Narada and Angira Instruct King Chitraketu." So now, one interesting thing that is happening here is that actually all this that is happening for King Chitraketu is a preparation for him to be able to hear the message of the Lord, to be able to hear the message of God, because he was so attached to everything he had that he wasn't able, he was Krishna conscious, he was God conscious, but still he wasn't so serious about spiritual life. Okay, so let us look at a little bit at this overview. So now Angira and Narada tried to preach to him. The great saints Angira and Narada explained that the relationship between father and son is not factual. It is simply a representation of the illusory energy. The relationship did not exist before, nor will it stay in the future. By the arrangement of time, the relationship exists only in the present. One should not lament for temporary relationships. The entire cosmic manifestation is temporary, although not unreal. It is not factual. By the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything created in the material world is transient. By a temporary arrangement, a father begets a child, or a living entity becomes the child of a so-called father. This temporary arrangement is made by the Supreme Lord. Neither the Father nor the Son exists independently. So now King is listening to the sages, but somehow it doesn't enter his ears. He's not able to understand these deep messages. So there is an example that like straws in the river sometimes meet together and the stream of the river separates them. Similarly, in this world, we meet many people and then we are separated from them by the force of time and sometimes by the force of death. But it is said that all these relationships in the material world are temporary. Now, on the eternal platform, all living beings are related as eternal servants of God. So actually we are all connected. We are all connected. And I have heard from some astrologers, devotees, that they say the devotees who are in ISKCON, they were connected in previous lives also. Several lives or more lives. So that sometimes we have a feeling that we know other devotees. And that's true actually. If we look at the astrology, we can see that it's true that some people have relationship from previous lives. Now, this may sound romantic and may sound attractive to many of us, but actually what we need to do now in this life, even if we had a relationship in past life, if we had a close relationship in past life, now we have to put Krishna in the center of our relationship. And we have to help each other on the path back to Godhead. So that this is our duty in this life, to help each other in Krishna consciousness. In past lives, maybe we have different kinds of relationships, and maybe we were together, maybe we were husband and wife, or father and son, but in this life we want to advance toward the ultimate goal of life, which is Krishna consciousness, pure devotional service, and returning back to Godhead. So King is now listening, but somehow it doesn't enter his ears. He is still very attached and he's very sad. So when you are emotionally overwhelmed, it's not easy to hear philosophy. Therefore, when somebody is in very much emotional pain, we shouldn't preach to them. Better give them a handkerchief or a tissue. Žepni robčki. Give them a tissue and be there for them and listen to them because they are not able to hear, because they are disturbed. So let's see. As the king listened to the great sages, he was relieved from the false lamentation, and then he inquired about their identity. The great sages presented who they were and instructed that all sufferings are due to the bodily conception of life. When one understands his spiritual identity and surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Spiritual Person, one becomes actually happy. When one searches for happiness in matter, one must certainly lament for bodily relationships. Self-realization means spiritual realization of one's relationship with Krishna. Such realization ends one's miserable material life. So now, okay, this is 2 of the 4 chapters that I wanted to read overviews of. The next one is King Chitraketu meets the Supreme Lord. So now, sometimes a spiritual master appears and even we don't know who he is and how we can benefit from him. And it is said, when the disciple is ready, Guru appears. So when disciple is becoming tired of the material existence, then some saintly person appears as a guru. And here, actually, Chitraketu is meeting his gurus. he is meeting his gurus who are instructing him, who are explaining to him what happened. He was very much attached to his son. He was lamenting, but still we will see he wasn't able to get it. So if somebody starts Krishna consciousness, it doesn't mean they will immediately understand what it is about. They will immediately become a serious devotee. It will take time, sometimes many years, 10, 20 years, 30 years. And therefore, it's important to continue hearing from devotees, hearing from Srila Prabhupada, hearing from the Shastra, hearing from Narada Muni and other acharyas, and practicing Krishna consciousness, and of course, facing different challenges in life which test our understanding. So everything we face is, we can say, it's a test of how much we understand the scriptures and how much we have spiritual perception. And spiritual perception liberates the mind. Therefore, when we listen from the saintly personalities, we gradually get educated and we are able to see the world through the eyes of the scriptures, through the eyes of wise men. This is what's happening now with Chitraketu. He is starting to think differently about his son and his attachment to his son, to see differently his relationship, to think more deeply about his relationship with God also and his spiritual development. So different trials and tribulations and miseries that we experience actually are meant to make us more serious about spiritual life. Okay, let's look at this third chapter. I think we are doing well on time. Overview of the third chapter, something from the overview of the third chapter, where let's see what's happening. So what happened in the previous chapter is that Chitraketu was so much in pain, he was not able to absorb the philosophy that he got from Narada Muni and Angira Muni. And they had to use a trick to, he was actually begging them to revive his son. So Narada Muni agreed, because he has mystic powers, he agreed to bring back to life his son. But his purpose, his intention was that maybe King Chitraketu will be able to hear from the boy, because he was attached to the boy. So we have another example of Bilva Mangala Thakur and prostitute Chintamani, when Bilva Mangala Thakur wasn't able to hear from anyone something that will enter deeply into his heart, but he was able to hear from Chintamani because he was attached to her. He did so much, you know the story, some of you know the story, he did so much risk. He risked his life to come to her one evening when he wanted her. And but then she was Krishna conscious. Although she was a prostitute, she was a Krishna conscious. And she said, "Why are you attached to me so much? You should use your energy for Krishna consciousness." And later, when he was writing his beautiful poems that, you know, many great personalities were hearing, I believe even Lord Chaitanya was reading his poems, his spiritual poems, his Krishna conscious poems. Later he was referring to Chintamani as his guru. So he helped him. He was able to hear from a person who he was attached to materially. So similarly, King Chitraketu was attached materially to his son, Harsha Shoka, and he was able to hear much better from him than he was able to hear from Narada Muni and Angira Muni. I hope I am not speaking too fast for the translator. Maybe I should slow down. And now what happened, we know there is this Sanskrit line in the Bhagavatam, Jiva Uvacha. So that refers to the boy. The boy is Jiva, he is a soul, and he speaks. So the boy woke up, he came back from the dead, so the soul re-entered the body of the boy, the soul that left, and by the mystic power of Narada Muni, the soul came back into the body and the boy was able to speak. And the boy said, "Why are you attached so much to me? I am not your son. In many lifetimes I had so many fathers and mothers, you are just one of them." And he went on and on to explain to him that these relationships are temporary, and I mean more or less the same things that he heard from his spiritual teachers, but now he was able to hear. Because he was listening with rapt attention. He was listening with rapt attention, and he was listening from a person who he loved so much. He loved him so much. So he was, when you love someone, you listen like this, very, very carefully. So, and you can listen. If you love someone, you can listen for hours because you just love to see them, love to understand what they are feeling and what they are going through. And so similarly, King was open to listen from his son. And in this way, King became more Krishna conscious. He became more Krishna conscious. So sometimes when we preach, we have to use some tricks because people cannot accept. So we have to see what will help this person connect to Krishna. With some people, only prasadam works. With some people, only holy name works. With some people, only philosophy works, the books, the stories. With some people, none of these things work, but what works is friendship. If devotees befriend them, if devotees are kind to them, if devotees are nice to them. So whatever works, we should use and we should see what people are attracted to. Yena tena prakarena Mana Krishna niveshayet, or Tasmat kenapi upayena Mana Krishna niveshayet. The similar verse or same verse appears in the Bhagavatam and in the Nectar of Devotion. And it says that in the beginning we should focus ourselves on what we are attracted by in Krishna consciousness and not so much on all the rules and regulations. So focus on the essence of Krishna consciousness. And later we will be able to follow more and more rules and regulations. So now the king was ready to practice more seriously Krishna consciousness. He became detached from his strong attachment to his son. And he became serious about Krishna consciousness. And he made advancement. After hearing instructions from his dead son, Chitraketu, from their dead child, Chitraketu and his wife could understand that all relationships in this material world are causes of misery. The queens who had administered poison to the son of Kritadyuti, that's his first wife, were very much ashamed. They atoned for the sinful act of killing a child and gave up their aspiration to have sons. Thereafter, Narada Muni chanted prayers to Narayan, who exists as Chaturvyuha, and instructed Chitraketu about the Supreme Lord, who creates, maintains, and annihilates everything, and who is the master of the material nature. After instructing King Chitraketu in this way, he returned to Brahmaloka. These instructions about the Absolute Truth are called Mahavidya. After being initiated by Narada Muni, King Chitraketu chanted the Mahavidya, and after 1 week he attained the presence of Lord Sankarshan, who was surrounded by the 4 Kumaras. The Lord was nicely dressed in bluish garments with a helmet and ornament of gold. His face appeared very happy. In the presence of Lord Sankarshan, Chitraketu offered his obeisances and began to offer prayers. So you see, Chitraketu attained the darshan of the Lord so quickly. That means he was a great soul. So what it means for us as a lesson is, even if we practice Krishna consciousness for many lifetimes, we still have to make more advancement. And we still have to deserve to see the Lord and to meet the Lord. And he needs to be inspired to reveal himself to us. So you see, when he got back on the right track of practicing Krishna consciousness, how quickly he attained results. Sometimes what we see, I have seen over the many years, that how some people who have background in devotional service in past lives advance very quickly. They become a very successful Sankirtan devotee, or they are a great manager, or they are a great Kirtan leader, give wonderful classes, and for some time their Krishna consciousness is very successful and looks very easy. But then they hit the wall and they start to become tested. And then they have to make further advancement. And this is where they need help. So we see here, Chitraketu is meeting Narada Muni and Angira Muni, and after some time he gets initiated and gets help, personal assistance on his spiritual path. And this helps him a lot. Of course, his spiritual master also made a special arrangement by using his mystic power to bring his son back to life, so that he can hear from his son. So we are not attached, like we see here, that preacher is not attached that people listen to him or hear from him or accept things from him. But preacher desires that the person gets the message, even if it's through the mouth of the child, even if it's through the mouth of his own child, So this is what Narada Muni, he made this special arrangement. And so we want to encourage people to take up Krishna consciousness in one way or the other, and to encourage them to practice whatever they can. This will make them purified. This will help them to make progress on their spiritual journey. So let's look a little bit now. Chitraketu is starting to offer prayers. So let's see what it says in the overview of the chapter. In his prayers, Chitraketu said that millions of universes rest in the pores of Sankarshan, who is limitless, having no beginning and end. The Lord is well known to the devotees for his eternity. The difference between worshipping the Lord and worshipping the demigods is that the worshipper of the Lord also becomes eternal, whereas whatever benedictions one can get from the demigods are impermanent. Unless one becomes a devotee, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After Chitraketu finished his prayers, the unlimited Supreme Lord explained knowledge of himself to Chitraketu. So I would like to encourage you to read these 4 chapters and to get as many lessons as you can. I am pointing out to few points, to a couple of lessons that we can learn, but you can get much more from these chapters if you read them carefully and think about them and think how they relate to your life. Now, an important point is made in this passage here, that the difference between worshipping the Supreme Lord and worshipping the demigods is that by worshipping the demigods you cannot get eternal life. You can only go to the heavenly planets, enjoy for 10,000 years, and you have to come back again to this planet Earth. So what is the use of that? So we want to go directly back to Godhead. We don't want to go to the heavenly planets. And now the last chapter that we have about King Chitraketu is called Mother Parvati Curses Chitraketu. So now he got into trouble. Even after making advancement, even after understanding that his son doesn't belong to him, even after becoming free from so much attachment in the material world, still he wasn't careful and he continued enjoying. We will see. He continued enjoying, and then he made an offense. So when we make an advancement and make offenses to devotees, we have to get consequences for that. So this is also a very, very valuable lesson from these chapters. So I will repeat a few times. This is chapters 14, 15, 16 and 17 of the canto 6, sixth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I recommend you read these 4 chapters very carefully, think about them, write about them, discuss with devotees about them, and in this way get great benefit from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Remember, spiritual perspective liberates the mind. If we can look through the eyes of the scriptures, then our mind will be peaceful and we will be clear about what to do next or what to do in general in our life. So Mother Parvati is the wife of Lord Shiva, and let's see what happened. This is a very long, not so very long, it's maybe 1 page and a half of the overview, but we still have time. So we will look a little bit more closely what happened to him. So one I would say, if we look from the side at these chapters, so what we conclude, that it doesn't mean if you have made some advancement that everything is finished and that you have done your work. No, you will be tested. Maya doesn't care if you're a sannyasi or a young bhakta or a guest. Maya will test everyone. Maya tests us on the most weak points we have. So if there is any pride, if there is any kind of weakness, attachment to any kind of enjoyment in the material world, this will be tested. And we have to become able to pass these tests and to resist the temptation. That's not easy. But Krishna will help us, I believe, to come to these higher platforms of Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada says that one of the symptoms of spiritual advancement is that one is not attached to sense gratification in the material world and to material relationships. Okay, let's look what's happening here. This is the final chapter that we are discussing. So he had to get the body of an asura or a demon because of joking with Lord Shiva and offending Lord Shiva. So now he has seen God. Can you imagine? After personally talking with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, King Chitraketu enjoyed life in his airplane with the women of the Vidyadhara planet. Engaging in the congregational chanting of the glories of the Lord, he began flying his plane and traveling in outer space. So he was chanting the glories of the Lord, but he was enjoying with women. Now, when we have this enjoying mentality, we have a tendency to offend others, because we are like, being an enjoyer means you are like a little god, and little god means you are powerful and you have a tendency to become proud. Okay, let's see. One day, while traveling like this in his airplane, he wandered into the bowers of Sumeru mountain, where he came upon Lord Shiva embracing Parvati, surrounded by an assembly of Siddhas, Charanas, and great sages. Seeing Lord Shiva in that situation, Chitraketu laughed very loudly. But Parvati became very angry at him and cursed him, and because of this curse, Chitraketu later appeared as the demon Vritrasura. So devotee is getting the body of a demon. He looks like a demon. He is giant. He has a very rough looks, very rough looks. But his heart is the heart of a devotee, because through many lifetimes he has made spiritual advancement, and although he got the body of an asura, he was a devotee. He was a devotee, and there is a whole story which coming later about Vritrasura and his challenges that he has, and it's the same soul. It's the same soul who was a king, that he was a big demon, and he, again, challenges and temptations. So our conclusion, or one lesson that we get from this, is that God is not cheap. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it, because having Lord's association and pure love of God is the greatest gift. So we have to continue. We should never give up. Now Chitraketu, because he was quite spiritually advanced, he was not at all afraid of Parvati's curse, and thus he spoke as follows. Everyone in human society enjoys happiness and distress according to his past deeds, and in this way travels in the material world. Therefore, no one is responsible for his happiness and distress. One is controlled by the influence of material nature in the material world, yet one thinks himself the doer of everything. In this material world, which is made of the external energy of the Supreme Lord, one is sometimes cursed and sometimes favored, and thus he sometimes enjoys in the upper planetary systems and sometimes suffers in the lower planets. But all these situations are the same because they are within this material world. None of these positions has any factual existence, for all of them are temporary. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate controller, because the material world is created, maintained, and annihilated under his control, while he nonetheless remains neutral to these different transformations of the material world in time and space. The material external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is in charge of this material world. The Lord helps the world by creating situations for the living entities within it. So now this last sentence is so important. If we remember it, it will be easier for us to face all the difficulties and pain and challenges. It says, the Lord helps the world, that means people in the world, by creating people and other living entities, by creating situations for the living entities within it. So the Lord is the cause of all causes. He is the Sarva Karana Karanam, as Brahma Samhita describes. And he creates situations for us in this world. So we get different tests. Krishna wants to see how serious we are about serving him, about chanting the holy name, about hearing about him, about glorifying him, and about spreading Krishna consciousness. And now, you have listened to this prayer. This is so Krishna conscious. But what's happening to him? I mean, he's a great devotee. And what's happening to him right now, to this great devotee, that he's just about to become a demon. He's just about to get a body of a demon because he got cursed by a higher authority, by Mother Parvati, who is the wife of Lord Shiva. She is a personified Maya, personified material energy. When Chitraketu spoke in this way, all the members in the great assembly in which Lord Shiva and Parvati were present were astonished. So Siddhas, Charnas, these are different kinds of demigods, different kinds of higher beings who are accompanying Lord Shiva and his wife Parvati, and they're fascinated, they're astonished that he's so intelligent. He wasn't shocked, and he didn't object, he didn't protest. Why did you curse me? I don't deserve it. I have so much spiritual consciousness, and no, his spiritual consciousness level was illustrated by how he reacted. So how he reacted? He reacted very peacefully. Okay, if the Lord wants me to get this curse, let it be so. I am going to accept it. But his heart was a heart of a devotee. Then Lord Shiva began speaking about the devotees of the Lord. A devotee is neutral in all conditions of life, whether in the heavenly planets or hellish planets, whether liberated from the material world or conditioned by it, and whether blessed with happiness or subjected to distress. These are merely dualities created by the external energy. Being influenced by the external energy, the living entity accepts a gross and subtle material body, and in this illusory position he apparently suffers miseries, although everyone is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. It says apparently suffers miseries. So the pain and pleasure that we experience are illusory, actually. Are illusory. This is what is the message here. There is this verse, Svarga Pavarga Narakeshu Apitulyartha Darshina. Narayana Parak Sarve Nakutaschana Bibyati Svarga Pavarga Narakeshu Apitulyartha Darshina. Whether in hell or in heaven, devotee will serve Krishna. He will not lose his determination to serve Krishna. He is ready to go anywhere. Like devotees go to countries, like Muslim countries, that are dangerous. If you say that God has feet, they will cut your feet. We were just talking at the lunch here. By the way, I didn't tell you where I am. I am in the village called Studenice at Bhakta Franjo and Bhaktin Veronica's holiday house. And fortunately, at the top of this hill, there is, antenna for internet connection. So I hope the broadcast is going well. So we see Lord Shiva is now explaining how devotees are free from the dualities. And in the Bhagavad Gita, text 15 of the second chapter, it is said, one who is equal in happiness is distress is the right candidate for liberation. So, very early Krishna mentions this point in the Bhagavad Gita. The so-called demigods consider themselves independent lords, and in this way they are misled from understanding that all living entities are parts of the Supreme. So this chapter concludes by glorifying the devotee and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Shiva takes always opportunity to glorify Krishna's devotees who are not influenced by the dualities of material nature. So we see here, I have mentioned several lessons, and if you read the purports of Srila Prabhupada, you will discover many very, very valuable things for you, for your own spiritual life. So I highly recommend you to study. I will also read again everything and try to find more things that we can share and discuss and use and apply to our daily life and help each other succeed on this path of Krishna consciousness. So as you know, we want to build caring communities. Every member is important. We don't want any devotee to go away. We want to support everyone because very few people approach Krishna in the material world. Everybody wants to enjoy independently, and so therefore we want to build caring communities, and by discussing scriptures like this together, we can help each other to find powerful instructions and, I would say, success tools that help us, spiritual success tools that help us on this path of Krishna consciousness. So I want to thank you very much for listening, and I'm not sure how this can be, but maybe Urukrama Prabhu can go on my profile and send me in comments if there is any questions. So Urukrama Prabhu, please let me know if there are any questions. Let me know in the comments. Actually, because they can type on the Zavest Krishna Facebook page. I think you will have to type it here because I cannot see it. Or you can call me on the phone if you like, and I have another phone. You can call me on the phone and just tell me the question and I can answer if there are questions. Okay, I see Arukam Prabhu is now here. If there are no questions, then Urukrama Prabhu, please let me know. And before I get a message from you, I still have 10 more minutes. So I want to encourage you, all of you, to take this opportunity to encourage you to do something I call devotee success partnership. So it's like a two-way coaching or two-way mentoring that you can use when you meet, when you associate together and have a structured conversation, planned conversation, where you come with any goal that you have or any problem that you have and speak to another devotee by using a structure that I have given in the little guide, little manual that I have created for the devotee success partnership. So this devotee success partnership is inspired by verse 10:9 in the Bhagavad Gita, Mat Chitta Mat Gata Prana Bodayantas Parasparam Katayantas Chamam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. Krishna says that my devotees who worship me with love, they always find great pleasure in talking about me and enlightening each other. And another verse that inspired me to create this is from Upadeshamrita, Dadati Pratigrinati, Guyam Akyati Prichati, Bhunkte Bojayate Chaiva, Shadvida Priti Lakshanam. So 6 ways of devotees exchanging love between each other is giving prasadam, accepting prasadam, confidential conversations, giving gifts, accepting gifts. So confidential conversations, guyam akyati prichati, guyam means secret or confidential. So this is the principle on which devotee success partnership is based. And if you are interested, please contact me. I will send you this guide, and I can also practice with you this. We can have this two-way coaching. Half a session you are a coach, half a session I am a coach. And in this way, we can fulfill the lack of the number of mentors and coaches that we have in our ISKCON yatras. Not many devotees step forward to be mentors, to be guides. So therefore, even if we are maybe a little less experienced, we can, if we have a structure, we can help each other by listening, by asking questions, by helping the other devotee to think. 1651. By helping the other devotee to think a better and in a better quality way. So, okay. I'm just checking if there is any call. Yes, I have created several types of structures that you can use, and you can use the one that you like, that you feel is maybe most practical for you. And in this way, devotees have like a tool how to get most from their association. So the principle is again helping each other succeed. We want every devotee to succeed, and we want to help them in a very, very effective way. And these kind of conversations actually can help a lot. I myself and other devotees, we have this experience when we do this, when we do this type of conversations. So Shastra encourages this, and Srila Prabhupada encouraged us to study the scriptures and to discuss how to apply them. So we can do this, and this kind of partnership facilitates that. Okay, so I will wait a little bit more if there is any question. Thank you for listening to all of you, and you can contact me on Gita Seva Facebook page if you have any further questions, or you want to learn about Devotee Success Partnership, or you want to have an individual session with me. And whether I am here in Slovenia or not, you can still contact me online. Yes, Urukrama Prabhu. Okay, so there is no questions. I will stop here. Thank you all very much. I wish you all the best on your spiritual journey. And please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm here to serve you in any way I can. And I wish you all the blessings of Sri Sri Panchatattva and Srila Prabhupada, and all the best in your life and in your spiritual life. Hare Krishna.